Hey, good evening again, everybody. Happy Wednesday again. We are back for another edition of I Could Be Wrong with Justin once again. What up, bro?
Going on.
Oh, not much. All right, we are going to go ahead and talk some more fantasy football. Of course, we've given you our top five fantasy football for each position that we're predicting for 2022. Now we're going to go ahead and have Justin give us a sleeper at each position, somebody who he thinks may exceed expectations and obviously outperform their average draft position as of now. Are you ready to jump into it, bro?
Yeah, let's jump right on in.
All right, here we go. We're going to start off with your 2022 fantasy football sleeper quarterback style.
Quarterback style. All right. Yeah. Let's start with I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one because he's not attractive, but Carson Wentz, he's a sleeper of mine in fantasy this year. And the reason why is because despite some pretty ugly throws down the stretch last year, he actually was very, very efficient. It was the second best statistical season of his career. He had 27 touchdowns, only seven interceptions. So his touchdown interception ratio was really, really good. He actually, for comparison, threw more touchdowns than Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jalen Hurts, some of these guys that finished pretty decently in fantasy. Again, so I'm not expecting to be a stud, a superstar or anything like that, but he has the tools to actually be a viable, low-end QB1. He threw also for over 3,500 yards. It was a matter of opportunities with Wentz. So during the first 10 games of last year, he averaged 33 attempts per game, passing attempts per game. He had 17 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. In the final 7 games of the Colts season, he averaged only 26 passing attempts per game. He managed to keep the same level of production in the touchdown department, but you got to wonder if he had been afforded, I guess you would say, those extra couple of opportunities in each game down the stretch, would he have had a better fantasy season? He didn't finish number 14 fantasy QB. So here's why I think he's going to get that boost, because with the Colts, they have a really, really viable running game, a great running back, and they're going to be a run-first team. They actually finished towards the bottom of the league in total pass attempts per game and passing efficiency per game. Now, the Commanders, I was going to say football team, but the Commanders on the other hand, they actually finished near the middle of the pack. I do believe that as this year goes, the Commanders will actually just be throwing the ball quite a bit. Don't get me wrong, they have a good run game with Gibson and McKissick. They also drafted a running back, but that's not, a backfield that's got JT in it. So I do believe that they're going to throw the ball in Washington. Wentz is going to be afforded a lot more opportunities to rack up the fantasy points. He's got a very similar supporting cast as far as receivers go, and just overall offensive talent. They're very similar teams, really young on offense, decent offensive lines. They've got young and upcoming receivers and running backs. It's just a matter of opportunities. I think Wentz is going to get those extra opportunities with the Commanders.
Yeah, I was unsure how I felt, kind of about this, because I think he definitely is a sleeper. As far as fantasy football goes, and it's only because of his inconsistency. Carson Wentz has shown, obviously, in his near MVP season in Philadelphia before he got injured, he can be a top-notch, top-level quarterback, if not elite. But he's also shown that he can make some really dumb decisions at times, like the interception from the end zone last year, that he threw. Different things like that. So I wouldn't be, totally shocked if he has a solid fantasy season. I think that Washington is going to have to throw the ball a lot because I think they're going to be behind in some games. A couple years ago they had one of the scariest defenses in the NFL. Last year, not so much, and obviously what they're going to look like this year is still to be seen. But I do think either way, I think they're going to be behind in some games, and they're going to have to score points and throw the ball. They do have a pretty solid running game, but I agree with you. I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more than Wentz was throwing the ball in Indianapolis, especially when you look at the teams they're going to play. Like, they're going to have to throw the ball against Dallas. They play them twice a year. There's no way around that if you want to keep up with Dallas. Philly can score points. It's not always through the air, but they can score points. They've got some talented guys. They got a quarterback that can move around and run. So he's going to have to throw against them. The Giants, who knows? They might be able to beat them with 10 points, or Danny Dimes might show up and he might have to score 40 points to beat them. So that's really, the unknown in that division. Who knows? Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo's throwing passes for the Giants when week 1 rolls around. We'll see. But yeah, I think that he's definitely a sleeper, and I can see him having a solid season fantasy-wise. I don't know if it's going to translate into a lot of wins on the field for the Commanders, though.
I wouldn't necessarily say that either. But if you're looking for a quarterback in the late rounds of a draft, maybe a super flex league or something like that, this Wentz is going to be a good option on a lot of weeks for fantasy football. Definitely will say that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say, in a league like our family league where we switched this year to where, you got that open flex, basically, where you can play anybody but a defense. I think that's a viable option to put in there, considering how many points quarterbacks score. So definitely. All right, cool. Let's jump to the next one here. Give us your fantasy football wide receiver sleeper for 2022. Break this one down.
All right. People are going to just be like, man, quit talking about this guy, because I've been saying for weeks, A-Rob, man, everyone's going to be like, are you a 49ers fan, dude? As a matter of fact, I am.
I'm starting to wonder.
But when it comes to fantasy football, it's like you take the best players, so you can put together the best squad. I really believe that A-Rob is going to have a phenomenal fantasy season. So let's just say, my bold prediction in one of our videos previously was that he was going to outproduce Cup in fantasy. And again, I know that's a very bold prediction. So let me forego that, and let's just say he doesn't outproduce Cup. I still think he has the ability. He's a high ceiling wide receiver too, because the Rams offense is pass heavy. Already here early in training camp, even before training camp, they're saying, oh, we love him. He's a real professional. He runs routes great, crisply. He's in the film room. The way he studies is phenomenal. And he has a track record of that. He produced in Jacksonville. He produced in Chicago. And now he's going to go produce with the Rams. And he didn't just produce on the field for those teams. He actually produced in fantasy with terrible quarterbacks, just terrible. So he's got the best quarterback of his career. He's going to be in a pass-heavy offense. I like him as a high-ceiling wide receiver too. I would take Allen Robinson as the Rams wide receiver 2 over Darnell Mooney as the Bears wide receiver 1 in fantasy, just simply because of the offensive structure, the amount of passes they're going to throw, just the overall talent level, the difference in the quarterback. So Robinson, man, he's the guy. He's going to have a bigger season than most people think. He's currently being drafted at the tail end of the 7th round in most redrafts. That's crazy to me. People don't know what they're going to get. I get it. He didn't play a lot last season, but he's proven he can be a top 10. He's done it 3 times in his career, and he's still young. He's younger than Cooper Kupp. Come on, people.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue this one. I have no rebuttal other than I think that he's going to have probably his best season ever playing with Matthew Stafford. I hope that it ends in pain and misery at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. But I think he's going to have his best season ever. Fantasy-wise, I'd definitely be targeting him. And the fact that he's going in the tail end of the 7th round, I think is is crazy. I think he's definitely going to outperform that for sure.
I think he's going to outperform that too.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to your next sleeper here. We got the running back position, and this one here definitely caught me by surprise.
Well, I thought about this one, and a couple years ago, actually, maybe in another episode we'll get confirmation from my other league mates. But I was really high on James Robinson. He was one of my sleepers. James Robinson was. He got picked up as a free agent running back. The Jaguars were having some issues in the position. They had, I can't even say the guy's name, Raquel Armstead or something like that, and a couple of other no-name backs. And Robinson, he passed the eye test. There was a lot of buzz in camp about him, and he went on to have a really stellar season as a rookie. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, followed it up with another pretty good season. But they draft Etienne, and the buzz surrounding him, even with all the chaos of Coach Urban Meyer at the time, they were talking about how they were using Etienne as slot receiver and how well he just caught the ball and how fluid he looked. And that buzz, even though he didn't play last year, he had to recover from an injury. Camps are starting, practices and stuff like that, the off-season regimens, and that buzz actually has transferred onto this off-season now. And the thing about it is the Jaguars are kind of in a similar situation now as they were when James Robinson took over the backfield. They're battling some injuries, with James Robinson himself actually recovering from an injury. And then beyond that, they have a rookie running back in Snoop Connor, who, I don't know, who knows who that's going to be. So what I think is, Travis Etienne, given the fact that he should be working with the ones all off season, the fact that he is actually a better receiver. I mean, in college, you could see it. He's a better receiver than James Robinson. Running ability, I think they have really similar running abilities. So even when Robinson comes back, I actually think that they're going to switch roles. I think Etienne takes over as full-time starter right from day one. Robinson may miss the first couple weeks of the season. He may miss a little bit of time. That's still to be determined. But even then, I just think that Etienne gives the running back group a better skill set. And I think they drafted him actually to be a starter. There's a reason why even though he's had a great season or a great career to this point, as an undrafted running back, there's a reason why he went undrafted. I'm going to take a look at Philip Lindsay, for example. He was undrafted by Denver, came in, rushed for over 1,000 yards, had a great start to his career. But where's he at now?
Yeah.
Etienne was drafted high for a reason. I think it was so that way he could overtake that position. Whether it happened early in last year or later on in that season, if he hadn't got injured, that would have been determined, of course, by him. But I think it was going to happen. I think he was on his way last year to overtaking Robinson, just with his pure athletic ability. So no competition there really at the moment. It's just him. He's getting all the reps. And I think it's going to be that way for a while till, Robinson comes back. And that's going to make a difference. It's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, it caught me by surprise. And then, as I looked at it, and I actually was watching NFL Network yesterday. They were talking to Trevor Lawrence. I completely forgot that they played together in college. That makes, that's a little comfort factor there. Obviously, I think Trevor Lawrence trusts him. He was talking about how excited he is to have him back, and they have chemistry going back to college. He even mentioned their history and their chemistry in college at Clemson. So I think that that's a level of comfort for Trevor Lawrence, and Etienne's going to benefit from it. And you're absolutely right. He is a much better receiver than James Robinson. James Robinson is, like you said, he's a quality back. He's a good back. He's a very good back for someone that was undrafted. At the same time, Travis Etienne was drafted high for a reason. He has all the tools that you need, and if he can stay on the field, obviously last year he was unable to get on the field because of his injury. But if he can stay on the field and stay healthy, I think that it will be a matter of seconds before he gets named the starter and keeps that job, no matter whether Robinson comes back healthy or not. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% that he can definitely be a good sleeper. Someone that you may want to target in your fantasy drafts. Again, it caught me off guard because he wasn't even on my radar. But he definitely is, after you sent this over and I started looking at it, I was like, maybe I might want to take a look at this guy. So definitely looking forward to watching him play and seeing what he can do. Especially, Jacksonville, they have a new coach. Doug Peterson is, you can say what you want to say about what happened and the way Philadelphia and that experiment ended. I still think Doug Peterson is a really good coach. I think he's got a great offensive mind, and I think he's going to be able to use Travis Etienne in a lot of different ways and put him in positions to be successful in open space. And when you're talking about fantasy football, obviously it's all about yards, touchdowns. When you get an open space, that's what a lot of these guys end up racking up is yards and touchdowns.
I agree. Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of volume this year, and probably put up similar numbers to Najee. Not the same volume as Najee, because you don't want to, a guy that's just coming off an injury, you don't want to hit him with that kind of volume. But I think he'll be more efficient than Najee was, and that efficiency will translate into similar numbers as far as fantasy points goes as Najee. So, I think Etienne, you can mark my words right now, he's a low floor RB1.
Yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. The thing, like you said just a few minutes ago, the thing is, you're not sure what you're going to get with them, but I definitely, based off what we saw in college, based off of what we saw in college, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
All right, we got one last one here, and of course, it is the sexiest position of all in fantasy football. It's the tight end. All right, here's Justin's fantasy football sleeper tight end for 2022, Dallas Goedert.
Get you some Go Dirt, baby. That's what I say. Go get you some Go Dirt this year. Full off season, full season, everything without Ertz. No Zach Ertz in the building. He met his production immediately went up without Ertz. Immediately. So in the early part of the season, he was with Ertz. He averaged 3.1 targets per game. Without Ertz, he averaged almost 6 targets a game. So doubled his targets per game. After Ertz left, 5 games with 70 yards receiving or more. Again, after Ertz left, touchdown progression. He didn't score a lot of touchdowns last year. I think he's due for some touchdown progression this year. So you combine all those factors with the fact that I think Jalen Hurts' chemistry with his entire receiving group is going to be better. Do not sleep on Dallas Goedert, my guy, to really finish strong. I actually have him as a tight end 1 this year. So, yeah, I mean, that's my argument. I don't got a lot to say about that. I'm super excited about Goedert, just really based on those few things. I mean, there's no Ertz. He's the only tight end, viable tight end option they have as far as a receiver goes. He's on the field the most. He was on the field over 90% of snaps when Ertz left. So, yeah, I like Goedert. Don't sleep on Goedert.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't sleep on him. I'll throw one other thing out there just to kind of pad the argument a little bit. I think he's going to find the middle of the field open quite a bit more this year than he did last year with A.J. Brown being on the outside. He's going to draw some double coverage. He's going to pull some safeties over, some things like that. And I think Goedert's going to get some one-on-one with some linebackers and maybe some nickel backs at times and really be able to do some damage across the middle of the field. So I agree with you. Everything you said, I think, equates to him having a good season, and you throw in the fact that they've got a true number one on the outside, assuming health, obviously, and that's, we're assuming health in all of these, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. But he's got a true number one on the outside to draw some of that coverage away from the middle of the field, and that's going to benefit him for sure. So I can definitely see him finishing as a tight end number one this season in fantasy.
Yeah, I like Go Dirt. I actually think that I almost wasn't going to put him as a sleeper because I feel like a lot of people actually are high on Go Dirt this year. So I feel like there's a few other players I could have put in there as a sleeper. Someone like Pat Freiermuth, for the Steelers, probably more of a sleeper in my opinion. Maybe I'll get him on another one, but I like Go Dirt. He's gonna have a great season this year.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that I would have to pull it up, and we've done so many of these recently. I think I had him as my number 5 this year. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. All right, that's all we got. Those are Justin's sleepers for 2022. Make sure that you go out and draft them. Unless you're in our family league, then let me draft those guys because I really need to win this year. With that being said, as usual,
psychology, and I'm just telling you who I think. Ooh. And you go draft them, and I'm like, yeah, see, I wanted you to draft them because I think they're going to be horrible.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe I'm doing reverse psychology on you, making me think I'm going to go draft them. Could work either way. Either way, for those of you that watched, we do appreciate it. Please, as usual, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, share with your friends, family, people you don't like, whoever. Share it just anywhere you can. And be on the lookout for more content throughout the week. And again, as usual, please be kind, even to Cowboys fans.
All right, even the Cowboys fans.
And don't forget, we are forever faithful.
Yeah, boy. Trey Area, let's go. Niner game right here, baby.